Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So at the request of several of you, I went back to Jagger's channel and I did watch the clips of Jared from Adventures with Purpose and the additional little tidbits that he had to give us. Let's go over it. First off, we are made very aware that the tow truck driver guy who gave us all this information about possibly seeing Kiely at the Boca Reservoir the day after the party, he basically, him and his chick were just driving in town that day and happened to see the huge tour bus with the big huge Adventures with Purpose sign on it in the Best Buy parking lot and pulled in to tell them this story. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and act like this sounds normal to me, guys, to be honest, because everyone knew Adventures with Purpose was coming into town, and this guy could have very well just been driving around and looking for them with the full intent of telling them this story. Now, if it is true, then we've got a lot that we've got to think about. If it's false, then we've got even more that we have to think about, because this guy just put his face out for the world to see that he's a liar, right? Now, the one thing that I know for sure that came out of Jared's mouth is that they apparently verified this guy's information, where he worked, the company, all the things, so that they could validate that at least partial things he was saying were true. And Jared also made it very clear that they have like 2 more full-length videos that they are ready to release if certain things go the way that they should, according to him. And again, he verifies that this tip from this Nick character is the reason why they started at Boca instead of the campground, because they verify again, which is something that we already knew, they normally will go to the very last location that the person was seen. Well, as soon as they got into town, someone threw that entire idea at the window by stopping them in the Best Buy parking lot. Jared also states that the speculations that people have about who the guy in the black SF hat could be is basically, he's not denying what everyone is stating. He's pretty much kind of confirming it without straight up coming out and stating it. And apparently the roadside assistance guy has verified the male via a photo, I'm guessing, or a video, but he has verified and ID'd the person that he did see that day. Now, I don't know if this means verified with AWP themselves or verified with actual law enforcement, but Jared stated male verified. But here's the issues that comes from all of this. This guy is stating that the situation was so strange that after he left the couple there with the vehicle, he pulled over and called his girlfriend and told her about it. And she was apparently with him when they spoke with AWP. And she specifically remembers the date because it was her father's birthday, which would have been the Saturday after the party. But this is what I say to that. You felt compelled enough by the strangeness that you felt in your bones over the situation to pull over and call your girlfriend and tell her how strange it was, but nothing in that inkling told you to call the police and have a cop go out to that location and make sure that that situation was okay. That's another reason why I'm kind of like weirded out by this whole thing, because you stopped and called your girlfriend but didn't call the cops. If you had an inkling that told you, man, I gotta tell somebody about this, that means that you're wanting your gut feelings justified. That you're wanting to tell someone what you just felt and what you just saw so that you can hear that person feel the same way about it that you did. So why didn't you just call the cops? A bunch of people are stating, oh, it wasn't Kiely he saw, she had on a gray sweater. Y'all realize that shirts aren't permanent, right? That you can literally change your clothes like 100 times in a 5-minute time span. It's not a tattoo or a birthmark or a piercing that stays forever. It's a piece of clothes. Just because the clothes are different really means absolutely nothing. And at this point, I feel like the constant change of colors of the shirt that she had on is nothing but a bunch of bullshittery being thrown out there, because the fact is nobody really knows. She probably had on several different things that night. She probably had on the jeans and the black bodysuit and then just had hoodies on back and forth. Why she would take them on and off all the time, I don't know. Because if she was wearing a bodysuit and it clasped at the bottom when she had to go pee, then I can see her just going into the wooded area, taking off her pants and undoing that little clasp. I don't see her having to remove anything on the top of her body. Because while the person that the tow truck driver, the roadside assistance guy, is describing very much sounds like Jagger, Jagger's also the only male that we have seen associated with Kiely besides her father and grandfather that I know of. And according to rumors, there was another guy that Kiely was possibly dating. And it's kind of strange that that's coming out, because you have to go back and listen to Sammy's interviews to understand. She basically states Kiely was living her best single life. This child was 16 at the time. You should be. So why was that something that was needed to be said? And the rumor with this, and what I heard on Allegedly Innocent's video this morning, is that this guy very well could be similar to Jagger. You know, us girls have types, so it's very possible that the guy that she would have been newly dating would be similar looking to her ex-boyfriend. That's not an uncommon situation. Now, considering the fact that this guy that was at the vehicle with the girl on this roadside call had on a black San Francisco hat, I would want to believe that Jagger wouldn't be that stupid to have been seen by people with Kiely's vehicle wearing that exact same hat and then been all over his initial interviews in that exact same hat. Considering that this was like an actual roadside assistance call where information should have been like documented, right? Like the type of vehicle and all them things. And who paid for it? That's another thing that we don't know. Who paid for this roadside assistance call? Because even though nothing was wrong with the vehicle apparently, and the guy just got it started right up, who paid for that? Who signed that receipt? Who signed that credit card receipt? Whose credit card was ran? I highly doubt that they would have just accepted cash on the spot. I mean, it's possible, but knowing how that call got paid for would be really, really, really good to know. Jared also is asked about the car being in neutral, the SUV being in neutral. And while he doesn't like come out and straight up say it, because they've already admitted they didn't check that. And I know that Nick is new to the team, and they've made a comment about how if Doug would have been the one to go down there would have been a more full assessment. Okay, well, I think the guy did great. All right, I think that he did freaking fantastic, because he's the one who saw it on the sonar, and he's the one who went down there and had first eyes on it. And for anyone that watched it, you saw the emotion on that man's face, and you heard it in his voice. I think Nick did great. But Jared gives the example that basically everyone else is giving, which has led everyone to believe that the car was in neutral, because everyone saw the wheels turning instead of dragging whenever the vehicle was pulled out of the water. There is an older gentleman here on YouTube that goes by the name Psychobabble. I did share Ryan Upchurch's shared post of this man's information regarding said neutral assumption. He is a master mechanic that apparently actually worked at a Honda service center for quite a few years in the past. And he states here that the type of transmission that was in that Honda would allow the tires to free spin unless it was in park. So the only way that those tires would not have been rolling when pulled out is if it was actually in park at the time. So this means it could have been in neutral, but it could have been in drive, it could have been in reverse, it could have been in anything except for park. Now, let's backtrack a bit. Again, I'm going to ask, if anyone has actual proof of there being another guy that Kiely was talking to, I would love it to be shared here. Send it to me somehow. Post it in the comments. I don't have any issues with other people's channels being mentioned here. I freely mention several people's channels in my videos. If I've received good information from them, I'll tell you where the hell I found it. So if someone has something besides somebody said, so-and-so said, or there could have been about there possibly being another love interest here for Kiely, please share. Because not only does that make this a little bit more interesting, but it doesn't free Jagger, you guys. It really doesn't. I want y'all to seriously think about this situation, okay? I am still convinced something happened in that 4-hour time gap. Because Jagger sits there and states that he's sending her all these text messages about how horrible of a day he had, and she doesn't say anything for hours and hours until around 10 or 10:30, I believe 10:30, where she just sends a vague, "I'm sorry you're going through that" text. So what if that 4-hour time gap was really her hanging out with her new boyfriend? And that's why she wasn't messaging back Jagger. And there's a very strange situation, in my opinion, when it comes to the fact that Sammy follows Jagger on social media but didn't follow Kiely literally anywhere. They didn't go to the same schools. How did y'all become BFFs if you graduated at the beginning of summer and y'all didn't even come from the same exact school? Y'all would have literally only met in social circles. So I'm almost wondering if this guy exists, if this new guy exists, if Sammy had some sort of problem with the fact that Kiely and this guy were dating. And maybe just to get back at Kiely, she started following Jagger. I don't know the situation between Jagger and Sammy. A lot of people stated that there was like a thing between them, but then a lot of people came back and said there wasn't. And at this point, unless I see it in like text, proof, and photos, I don't believe anything anymore about this case, because none of this makes any sense. None of this makes any sense. And to go back to the roadside assistance guy, he hasn't verified the female from the last updates that I've seen. He's only verified the guy. But if you saw the missing persons poster a week after she went missing and you instantly knew that you needed to tell your company about it and try to get a hold of law enforcement, was it her face that he recognized, or was it the vehicle? Because either way, either she was alive after the party somehow without being able to contact anybody, and she was with her vehicle and there was a dude with her, or her vehicle was with a dude and someone who wasn't her after the party. So since the guy's the only one that has been verified by this roadside guy, I'm wondering if it's just the vehicle on the missing poster that he recognized and not the girl herself. And the last thing that I want to clarify here, which is pretty much what we already knew, but I'm going to verify why I used the words I used, because I stated back seat because that's the first wording that we got from AWP. Now, we already knew that she was in the back hatch, okay? Now, the situation with that and why I said in my other video where her body would have ended up eventually, maybe, because we just really don't know. But the proof and the facts of this situation is this. There is only about 6 to 7-ish inches, if that, in between the top part of the headrest on the back seat and the roof of the vehicle, okay? If that back window was rolled down and she was anywhere else besides the back hatch at the time that the vehicle went into the water, her skinny little self could have gotten out of any of those windows that were open. They were rolled down, not broken, rolled. And that information is extremely important, because if the windows were rolled down when the vehicle went into the water and her body was placed in the back hatch of the vehicle, that's not an accident at all. Not only that, but with the windows rolled down that way, Jared says it would only have taken about 20 or 30 seconds for that car to have completely filled up with water. You're not found in the back hatch of your own vehicle with the windows rolled down and it ends up being labeled an accident. That's not going to happen here. To be honest, this entire thing is turning into a huge shit show. It's just, I don't even understand all of the ridiculousness coming from this case. Make it make sense. Somebody somewhere has this missing puzzle piece that is needed in order to make any of this make sense. I'm not going to do an update on Kiely, at least for a few days, or at least try not to. She's been found, guys. Like, this is now the aftermath of the search for her and her being recovered. And Julezofalltrades is still missing. And there's some very sketchy situations going on with that. And I still have to get my opinion out there about Dylan Rounds, because after all the research that I've done, I am going to assume that I have a pretty good idea of where his body actually might be. So I'm going to get that out maybe tomorrow, but Juleza's video is definitely getting put out today. Regardless of what time it comes out today, I am determined to get it out today. So until then, bye y'all.